Okay, super interesting. Now let's get into pro picks. Pro Picks is brought to you by ATB Financial. With $62 billion in assets, ATB Financial is powering possibilities for more than 820,000 financial services clients in Alberta and beyond. ATB's capital markets arm is a full-service investment dealer that offers investment and corporate banking, sales and trading, institutional research, and risk management. Visit atb.com/inthemoney for more information. Okay, you brought 3 ideas to us. They're all on the long side, is that correct?
They are.
Okay, let's get into it. The first one is Gildan, and that one was a super spicy activist situation where the board fired the CEO, and there was basically a cavalry of shareholders that wrote in and said, no, you're going to reinstate the founder and CEO, Glenn Chamandy, and they won. With the power of Browning West. Were you guys involved in that?
Yeah, we were very involved in that. So we had a couple of press releases out, and we really liked the name and really liked Glenn. We think he had built an unbelievable company and was dealt with in an unfair manner, where an overreaching board, did that. And at the end of the day, we're looking for great companies. This is a company that has had a great return over time in regards to building shareholder value. And we were very involved before, and it publicly came out and we had sold our stake, but they're dealing with the same type of tariff situation now that a lot of are. And for us, it's you want to back managers who have been there, seen it, done that, have the experience, have the wherewithal, have the cheapest cost of capital, and that's Gildan. So they've got a manufacturing facility in Bangladesh, and that sort of took the stock down 30-40%. But we believe Glenn and the team, and now that new board that we helped put in place, these are guys who are super qualified, super invested, and doing the right thing. And so we believe that this is a stock headed up.
So you sold, and now you're back in.
That's correct.
But you're supportive of Glenn and management, and you're just taking advantage of the pullback there.
Correct.
And so, sorry, how much upside do you see?
I think there's, a 30% return in the next little while, but we believe this is one that's going to be great for long term, right? They're a low cost producer. We're dealing with an economy that's sort of softening. And at the end of the day, products like this that are, unbelievably made at the lowest price and, out there at the lowest cost, those are the guys who are going to be able to hold and gain market share. So we're pretty excitement around Gildan for a number of reasons.
The second pick is Vistry Group, and maybe not a household name, a home builder in the UK. You're a pretty big shareholder, and I saw so is Browning West, which, maybe, I don't know if you like them in particular, you like working with them, but they were, of course, active in the Gildan situation.
Yeah, as I mentioned, for us, we rely on a lot of market participants. Browning West, have an unbelievable team that really find interesting situations. And so for us, we'll follow the network, right? We do great work internally, but we will borrow ideas from other people from time to time. And we saw Browning West go into the situation around Vistry long before we got involved. But at the end of the day, we saw the opportunity of merging 2 of the largest home builders together around social housing, and we were happy to participate in that, and we participated in the activism there. And so again, we had sold off a lot of our stock, but the company had a recent trip up over the last few months. But because we know the situation so well, we know the management team, we're not reticent to step back into a situation that we know pretty well. And so for us, this is a company that trades at 4 or 5 times earnings, 2 billion pound market cap. That's down 50% in short order.
I was going to say, that's a big trip up.
That's a big trip up. They had a number of things, but again, it's about understanding the management team. And Greg Fitzgerald, the CEO there, is a super smart guy. He's had 3 exits. He realizes his back's against the wall. We went there. So for us, it's, like I said, the sentiment. So I went over there. I spent a bunch of time with them in London, across the UK. And anyone we spoke to, they're like, don't talk to me about Vistry. Because of everything that had happened, nobody wants to touch it.
Can you backstory what happened?
Backstory what happened. So the company, they were actually in Toronto. They were at we have an Anson Thursday night party, and they came to our party. They landed Friday morning back in the UK. And when the guy landed, Greg landed, he got a message that there was some situation around one of their operations. And at the end of the day, there was some mismanagement around cash flows and production around some of their facilities, and they had to have a big earnings warning. And it was all on the fly. There's rules in the UK where you have to announce it right away. They didn't really know the extent. And then fast forward 2 weeks later, they had another earnings warning. So people were really, irate about the situation.
Were you included?
We weren't involved. We weren't really
okay.
there. But for us, because we knew it, we could take advantage of the opportunity. You can see now it's sort of coming into its own. And they still throw off a lot of cash. They're very active on the buyback. And they've got a lot of good stewards around it from a shareholder and from a board member basis. So we're excited about that one. But again, we're talking our own book.
Well, no, it's interesting because looking at the chart, you might think, well, this is an obvious short. This is, looks like the other stocks that you might short. So it's interesting that you saw the stock plunge, but you're willing to actually step in because you got to know the management.
Yeah, it's funny. In the UK, you have to post your shorts. And so we actively contacted the short sellers who were involved in the name to say, are we missing something, right? Again, it's a matter of being objective, talking to all participants and saying, you guys did an unbelievable job. The stock just dropped 50, but what keeps you in the name now? And so having that ability to talk to people, being comfortable, being ready to take some type of, awareness and heat, whatever it need be, or just putting yourself out there. I think our team, we do it very well. And so we look at companies from all angles, and that's really now been internalized in all our management team. All our portfolio managers enjoy asking the right questions, aren't afraid to get on a flight, pick up a phone, have tough conversations, and, see over the horizon and make the right decision.
So is that what's happening in the office? Somebody comes up to you and say, I got to go fly here. I have to check. I got to count the widgets. You green light that. That's expense approved.
I green light it quickly. For us, we call it the hustle, right? We want hustle. We want to have, it's a hustle mentality. It says, get on that plane. Don't worry about it. You think you're going to get something from that conference? Go. You think you're going to meet a great management team? Go. And it's not going to work out, but the expected value on that trip or that expense will pay off in spades. And so we're always happy. For us, it's about seeking the truth, right? And if you can go to a situation and you think you're going to be in a better position as a result of it, go there. And we try and do that more than most.
Well, and obviously showing up in the returns. Your third pick is interesting. I think we might make some news here, at least confirming your ownership in InterRent REIT. Are you a large shareholder of InterRent?
I believe we're the largest shareholder of InterRent.
Largest shareholder of InterRent. So I know Bloomberg sort of ran with that. Anson said to have taken a stake. So now we can say Anson has taken a stake.
Anson has taken a stake in InterRent, correct.
So why did you take a stake in InterRent?
As I mentioned, there's a lot of interesting opportunities right now where people aren't looking. And we believe REITs there are amongst the best in class of ideas to look at. We believe this company trades at a 30% plus discount to its NAV. And we believe that, the board, with a couple of interesting changes can really unlock some of that value. So we're in constructive dialogue. They've built an unbelievable business over time. It's 12,000 apartments across Ontario and everywhere. But we believe that shareholder rights are important. And if we push for change, it's going to be in everyone's best interest.
It's those tweaks to board. What does that mean? Is that a nice way of saying you want a new board?
It's not necessarily we want a new board, but we just want the board to act as a fiduciary for shareholders. Do the right thing, return cash to shareholders when needed, do buybacks when appropriate, don't buy assets when you're trading at a discount, standard stuff that I think all boards should be thinking about at all times.
So InterRent is a multi-residential REIT concentrated in the GTA. It has been under massive pressure since the summer. There was a rally around the stock. It gave back and now it's up again. What are those things? Like you mentioned it, do buybacks. Do they have the cash flow for that?
They have a pretty interesting cash flow. It's a 10% AFFO. So we believe that cash is way better off being used to repurchase shares than to make further acquisitions. And then when you're trading at a discount, acquisitions become tough, right? That's where there ends up being a natural conflict sometimes between shareholders and management teams. Management teams inherently want to keep growing their business. But if you're trading at a discount, the best way to maximize shareholder return at that point is the best opportunities to buy back that stock.
So you want them to stop pursuing acquisitions, at least for now?
That's correct.
And how have they greeted that message?
We're in constructive dialogue. Sometimes the conversations aren't the easiest, but we believe we're doing the right thing.
Do you like management?
They're good guys.
Do you want them to stay management? I'm going to push you.
We're good.
Okay. What about a transaction for InterRent? Do you think it makes sense to pursue strategic alternatives?
I believe that companies that trade at a big discount are attractive to other participants out there. So we believe that other guys would potentially be interested. There are some big, real estate companies out there that have publicly stated they're looking to grow. And so for them, it's a natural, easy pivot to buy an existing asset versus going and creating a new one.
I go back to what I said about, how do you be that catalyst for potentially a transaction when the market seems so frozen?
No, it's a good question. You always, Amber, ask the right things at the right time. It's a tough market. Like when this stuff came out, there was a lot of excitement around it, and then all the tariff stuff came, and markets are a little more frozen. You're right, but at the end of the day, if you believe you've got a great company and a great system, and the markets will open up again, right? There will be buyouts. There are going to be new banking transactions, and we believe that the right strategic people will come along and want to purchase an asset like this, irrespective of what's happening in the world.
Moez, thank you so much. I really enjoyed our time together. Maybe I'll leave with one softball question.
All right.
Your favorite restaurant right now in the city?
Favorite restaurant in the city? I just had a wonderful meal at VTY.L, which is a Michelin star restaurant on College Street. And it's not overly fancy, but just phenomenal food. But we've taken Canada's biggest gem, Rob Gentile, who was part of the Buca Empire here, and we've moved him to California. So we started our own restaurant called Stella in California. So I have to shamefully talk about and push that. Like that's a great restaurant as well.
That's okay to shamelessly talk your own book when it comes to a restaurant, because we know you're such a foodie. Thank you so much, Moez, for joining me.